going on?
And we are back. Finally, we are back. We figure out what's going on. Was a internet problem we got here, guys. And going to be the part number two of the NHL recap month of October. And we got at the end of the part number one, we got stopped by the internet problem. Was starting to talk about the NHL best, good or ugly, and we want to hear from each one of you what you think about those teams and honestly, what you feel about the first month overall, about the team. And then after that, we're going to talk about the players. So let's start with Michael. What do you think about that?
Which team?
Any
Any of
team,
them?
like what you think overall the best team in NHL? I put team like Vegas, Boston, Rangers, Vancouver,
Yeah.
Dallas, but anything else?
I mean, Vancouver's been a pleasant surprise. Vegas, they're the champs and they're still on that high. Like, so they're still doing really well. I mean, I thought it was telling when they lost in that overtime game and Alex Pietrangelo was like mad, right? Like he's mad. He doesn't care that they've not lost a game all year. He doesn't. I mean, they got a point. They're super competitive. They want to repeat in Vegas. So Vegas is looking interesting. I don't believe in the goaltending too much. That's kind of weird, even though they got that far. So Boston's shockingly good. Like we're seeing Marchand and Pasternak kick some butt, and the goaltending is ridiculous. But Vancouver's got to be the biggest surprise right now. I mean, Pedersen's put him on his back. Quinn Hughes looks like he's taken another step. Thatcher Demko is as advertised. So there's a lot to like in Vancouver right now.
Yeah, I agree with you about that. They're looking good. They won yesterday. Oh, yeah, this is Trevor Chase, the 204 Fisherman. Welcome in the house. Thanks to be a part of the show tonight. We appreciate that. If people are just pop up here, we appreciate. We get, like I said, we completely get out of the show a couple of minutes ago. Now we are back together and see what happened. If we can stay alive with the kind of problem we got so far. Mr. Natap, what kind of team you thinking is a problem? Oh, you have a good.
Problem. Well, problem. I mean, the good thing is that we're starting to see Carolina sort of straighten their ways. They've had about three good games now where they've risen a little bit in the standings, but they had gotten off to a really bad start initially. Now they're back in second place in their division, so that's good for them. I would, people will say Pittsburgh, but that's not a surprise to me where they are. Maybe that low, yes, but it's a team as well as Washington that is starting to age fast, and you're seeing the remnants of that now, where they can keep up with teams for a couple periods, and then the third period usually is their downfall. But I mean, right now, Calgary's a big concern in terms
Oof,
of a team that
garbage.
I mean, there's no identity with that team in my eyes. Like that's the biggest problem. And you let somebody like Toffoli go, that was your best scorer. I just don't get it. And he goes to a team that's going to fortify their positioning in New Jersey. So Edmonton should straighten their ways. I think that that was a big win the other night in the Heritage Classic,
Yeah.
beating Calgary. And with McDavid hopefully back now, things will be a little bit more settling, calming. The biggest problem there, of course, is the goaltending. You don't know what you're going to get night in and night out, and as long as you have that, it's a problem.
Wait,
Calgary, the Calgary problem, like definitely the Toffoli issue. Like you're trying to shove in the kid from Harvard and pretend like he's an NHL player. I don't see that working, and it hasn't. So you're not going to replace like a 30, 40 goal scoring, 73-point guy with a guy that's completely unproven. So that's kind of a problem. And why, like the coaching decision made zero sense. Like if anything, they should have gone outside the organization or brought Mitch Love up because Mitch Love did so much in 2 years in the AHL, and they've gone back to Vladar and Markstrom, and it just has not worked. I don't know. I feel like
Yeah.
if I'm the GM here, I rip it up. I just go young and I rip it up. They let Valimaki go to Arizona for nothing. Look at Valimaki; he's a top
Yeah.
4 now in Arizona, and you're like, wow, this is a really good young defenseman. So they're not, their judgment's not too solid at the moment. I just think they rip it up. They're never going to get out from under that Huberdeau contract. Like that was just like, oof, that's going to haunt them. That's not going to turn around.
Yeah, a lot of mistakes made by Trey Living in terms of how he handled that whole Kachuk Goudreau situation, and it looked like he had made a good move in at least acquiring Uyghur and Huberdeau. And
Yeah, they've been all
Uyghur's
right.
good. He's a good second line defenseman.
Exactly.
But Huberdeau has to, for that amount of money, he has to be producing more. And I just don't know if he's
He
your
won't.
star player. He's more of a secondary player
How,
like he
I
was
mean,
in
people in
Florida.
Florida
I mean,
for a long time. How many times is he on the second line in Barkov without Barkov?
yeah,
So I don't know. I just think he was used effectively by Joel Quenneville. And if you look at when he had his best years, it was when he had a master coach behind the bench.
Yeah.
yeah.
Otherwise, he's like always been a disappointment. So I just don't see it. I'd buy that contract out. Save yourself some money.
Not anymore. Are you kidding? It's 8
But
years,
isn't that crazy?
Colorado takes the lead 2-0.
and it just started.
Rantanen scored a goal. Rantanen have a good year so far for Colorado Evidence. Yeah.
Rantanen
The
is
funny
the top,
thing about
like,
that, if you look at your comments about Calgary, and then I was looking more, and then, if you think about the Pacific Division was supposed to be a really tough division for make the playoff, like to be a part of the playoff. You talk about Seattle, Vancouver, Calgary, 3 teams, and now you have to put Edmonton in that situation over there. So those it's open door right now for the Vancouver Canucks got that kind of door open to them to get there. And they have a review call, by the way. So we'll see happening for the goal of Colorado. But do you think Vancouver can hang in there? Great start for Elias Pettersson. I think with nobody talk about GT Miller. And Damko, I think is at 1.89 goal again average.
Yeah.
Have a great start of the year over there too.
If
So what do you feel about that?
That's the difference.
if he stays healthy, they definitely have a possibility.
Exactly. He was that's why they had such a horrible
it
year
opens
last.
the door.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Internet.
I'm sorry?
Delays. I think we're having internet delays and talking over each other. Sorry.
No, I think it was fine here. I don't know.
Okay. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say it definitely opens the door for Vancouver. It opens the door, believe it or not, for an Arizona team to get a wild card. I mean, they're not playing badly. They're 4-4, and with the exception of one game, they've been in every single game so far. Nashville, I don't think has much to pull them up to a playoff spot. I mean, they might be close, but in the end, it won't happen. And I still think once Edmonton has made themselves heard, I'm not sure about Seattle. That's the only one that I can't really. I'm struggling to figure out. They're not as good as they were last year, but they're not as bad as what they're showing so far. I think they're just a bubble team right now, and I don't anticipate that they'll make it.
The goaltending is not great. You cannot have sub 900 goaltending and make the playoffs. Somehow they did that last year. The guy that they rode a lot of the year, Martin Jones, is in the AHL. Grubauer is like an 8.95 or something, and Joey Decord is your other goalie. So I don't see any of that working out. They still have everybody's fourth defenseman. You can say what you want about Vince Dunn. I still don't like him as a top 2. I think he's at best a 3, but realistically a 4 in my mind that you can put on the power play. yeah, he racked up a whole bunch of points last year. He's a terrible defenseman. And then you've got, Beniers is a sophomore, and as good as he is, that usually is tough in your second year, and everybody else is aging. Like they really had success because they had secondary scoring from guys like Daniel Sprong and Eli Tolvanen late in the year, and that got them by. And now they
Yeah.
have is Bjorkstrand out? Someone got hurt, right? Oh,
No,
Bjorkovsky. One of them got
it
hurt, didn't
wasn't
they?
him. I don't think.
So I don't know. I just don't know if the little piece is missing, and I think they have to have all hands on deck personally.
Would be interesting what going to happen in the Pacific right now for sure. Let's move on to the Central Division. What you have right now, Colorado, Dallas dominate that division. No surprise when we start the season,
Panic.
we are prediction. But after that, Minnesota struggling, Nashville and the pack, and then you have Winnipeg Jet are now in the middle of this one over there. And then you have at the end, of course, the Blues, the Arizona, and the Chicago Blackhawks. Who do you feel like it's wide open now, the third spot? I thought for that Minnesota, but what a great bad start of the goaltender in Minnesota, Gustafsson. This I think is going to be a really difficult year for Minnesota overall.
I think what Minnesota
I
irons it
think
out.
so.
You haven't seen the best of Kaprizov yet. You had a really good start from the big centerman. What's his name? The Swedish guy with two last names. So he's had a really good start.
Erickson.
Yeah,
Eriksson Hickey.
yeah,
Erickson.
right.
Yeah.
That's it, Erickson Adams, right?
Yeah.
Like what is this? How many names do you have? I think I think they're going to be fine in Minnesota. I just wonder at what point do they bring in Jesper Wallstead? Because like he's only I know he's only 2-2 and he's a 903, so he needs time probably to get that up to a much higher level. But they can't have the goaltending they have and expect to compete. Like that's just not going to work.
I tried to answer everybody in the chat at the same time, so that's happening.
Yeah.
Matthew Boldy's been hurt too. Like I think we forget that. Like Matthew Boldy was probably their MVP last year, aside from
He returned
Kaprizov.
Thursday. He returned tomorrow night.
Right. So that like having him back's going to help a lot. But I mean that's like such a huge absent. I think get him back in the lineup and get a little bit consistent goaltending, and they should be okay.
Yes, and they have, you have to burn $14 million on the salary cap debt because the contract of the Sutter and Parisi.
Yeah. Yeah. And Parisi. Yeah.
That's a big
That's been
problem with
their
them.
Achilles heel. That's really
Spurgeon
got them
is
in
injured
trouble.
too. You have to write about that one over there, Mark, about that for sure. Omo, I have a question for us. What would be the story about Toronto this year and how they gone a performance? So let's move on directly to the Atlantic Division. And Homer asked about the Toronto Maple Leafs, 5-3-1 or 2, I believe they are right now. Minor
5-3-1,
struggle.
yeah.
Whatever have a point at most per game, he does not play the level he was supposed to play. Great start for John Tavares and William Nylander. But biggest question for me with that is the goaltender and the really painful watch the defensive at the point.
Yeah, trying. I mean,
Like
some of
terrible.
those acquisitions that they made over the summer. I mean, I expected a little bit more out of Bertuzzi, I think, and so far he hasn't really delivered. Reeves, you kind of knew that, for whatever he does in terms of being your cheerleader and going out there and setting the tone, when the games become more important, he's going to be playing less and less. He's more of a liability than he is an asset out there. Domi, it depends what day it is of the week. There's times he comes out and he's a great skater, but he's no more than, at this point, a third line forward. and sometimes he takes some very ill-advised penalties that really hurts the team. So the problems are still the same. It's goaltending and it's defense. That's what they really need to address, and it's it's it's. I mean, they should still win the Atlantic in my eyes because I think they have
Oh, really?
enough talent there to get through a regular season. But come playoff time, it's the same problem, same old, same old.
I personally think that they've solved the goaltending with Joseph Wall. I mean, his numbers are pretty solid and he's decent. He's above average goaltender in my mind from what I'm seeing. The defense is absolutely horrible. Like, I mean, this is like you have one defenseman in my mind. Like, who else is there besides Morgan Riley right now? Like, there's not one guy in that team I like. And obviously, they have the big four. Nylander's having a great year. You know, I think you're having a really good start from Tavares, but I mean, you hit it on the head. Like the guys like Bertuzzi and Domi made no sense to me whatsoever. That was Mitch Marner call because those are London buddies. I just think you kind of alluded to it, Pierre, before when you were asking, or Intertap when you were asking about like why Ryan didn't go back. I think we're seeing it. It's like the
Yeah.
lunatics are running the asylum. We saw this before with even Babcock. Like
Yeah,
players are calling their shots. They're being allowed to run like play whatever style they want, and it's just it's going to get worse because now they got Klingberg and they've got like Liljegren, and those are like the same defensemen. They're terrible defensively. They're okay offensively. It's not enough to compensate. It's just you have no control over the flow of the game if you're a coach.
Yeah, absolutely about that one there. Question for Rain. Which team do you think will look the most different after the winter trade deadline compared to now, or injured player coming back, trade, everything like that? Which team you think they will step up to try to go deep, go all the way, maybe whatsoever it is? Any
I
team
don't
you
know.
think?
I think it's very delicate, right? I mean, I thought last year Boston, the moves that they made at the trade deadline time really fortified their team, and they definitely, without any question, looked like they would be the team to sort of beat. But when it came down to it, it was the fact that the goalies. I think they played a little bit injured in going into the playoffs, and that had an effect on it. Also, they didn't experience much challenge in the course of the year, and sometimes when that happens, it's difficult to turn on the gas and press on the gas and sort of make it happen in the playoffs, and that's what they were finding. A lot of times they were pushing the issue. Um, I always worry that trade deadline time teams make bad decisions in terms of who to go out there and acquire. I know Colorado, when they got Lehkonen, that was a good move, I thought. But other times they mortgage quite a bit, and in the end, if you have 6, 7 teams that are going to go all in, 5 of them are going to lose.
Yeah. I think Anatap struggle with his internet right now, but Michael and Rain, everybody else, a team I'm thinking, Michael, right away is the Florida Panthers. Without Montour, Eggblad,
Yeah.
and now they lost Bennett. I think at the traded line they can add a player like Patrick Kane, example, and the return of the two defensemen over there could help him more. The Florida Panthers, and they still battle right now. They still play for 500. They're still in the middle of the pack without those two players. I think this is a team could be look like difference at the traded line. I don't know if you think what do you think about that.
Yeah, I have a big question mark around Florida just because like is Ekblad, Bennett, like those are really important players for them. Reinhardt's having a really good start, which I think he's got 8 goals on the year. So I mean that's positive. Kachuk is showing you what he can do, but they're not going to if they don't have Ekblad in the lineup, they're in big trouble. Bob's always going to be inconsistent during the regular season. So I just don't know what moves you make. I mean, I feel like there's some secondary scoring that they have lost. I I
Right
don't
now,
know.
a
It's
good
going to be
start.
Reinhardt's like, yeah, he's ripping it up right now. He's not my favorite player, but I think he's got 8 goals, right? Like he's
Yeah,
just
he have
kicking some butt.
he become UFA by the way after that. So would be
Is he?
interesting on
Oh,
that division. We talk about Toronto, but our other team right now we know Montreal is number third in this division. You have Buffalo win tonight. They're still not there yet, but now the scoring are back a little bit more. They more goals. Instead of being here, they struggle a little bit about that. Then you have the Detroit after a great start, lost the 3 game, or you have only did not win the last 4 games, something like that. And then the
they
Avatar
lost.
go
They
up
won
for 500, and Tampa Bay in the middle of the pack. So, what do you expect would could happen?
I
I think
wouldn't count
Detroit
out
won their
Tampa.
last game, didn't they?
Detroit won their last game in overtime. Yeah, Lucas
Yeah,
Raymond had a
true.
big
Yeah, yeah,
game-winning goal in overtime, but they did lose their prior 3. But you look at their 6-3-1, and we saw this last year. Like it was like they would get ahead, they would fall behind, but they were still above 500. And it wasn't really until they unloaded a bunch of players at the end of the year and Rasmussen got hurt, that's when they fell off. Daniel Sprong in Detroit is going to do what he did in Seattle last year, maybe more. Like he's just been a really big, second, third line addition for them. That's going to probably get 20, 25 goals. Like he had a great goal again the other night. He's a much bigger player than I thought. So Detroit's really interesting. Like I think the thing that's holding Detroit back right now is like Husso has had 2 games where he let in 4 goals and another one let in 5. He's a 320 or 340 goals against average. Reimer's been good on paper, but he's Reimer, right? It's like he's had a shutout one game, he blew another game, and then he was kind of like a tie
yeah.
in the other game. So he's like he's all over the place, but it's probably better than Nedeljkovic. I think that where the real opportunity in Detroit is that might surprise everybody. Simon Edmondson, he looked like he was ready for the NHL in camp. He had a very good preseason. He's doing okay in the AHL. Jonathan Berggren has zero reason to be in the AHL. He is capable, even on this team, of being a top 6. It is ridiculous. He set up a play last night in the AHL that everyone's like, wow, that was brilliant. And they were burying him on the 4th line with Austin Czarnik, who they just sent down. So I think that they got, and Joe Veleno is having a breakout year. Michael Rasmussen's been buried on the wing. Like they have got, if they can rejig this just with the pieces they have, they might really surprise people. Like I'm cautiously optimistic, that they have a few pieces they could slide in there without making a trade that might really be a difference maker. Like bringing in up a Simon Edmondson, a Jonathan Berggren, that alone, and if Elmer Soderblom get his game straight, even if it's a 4th liner, that could really impact them. And they haven't even seen the best of Klim Kostin. They're burying him and shuffling him in and out of the lineup. Like if we saw what he was like in Edmonton last year, he can be a real force to reckon with. He's a big, heavy man that can score goals. So I just don't think they've even figured out, how they dominate yet, and they're winning. They're 3 games above. So I don't know. They might surprise people.
Does the defense worry you, Michael?
Yeah, Sherratt and Petrie got to go at some point. I think that the answer is within. Like right now, Simon Edmondson is better than the only guys that are not better than Simon Edmondson are named Jake Wallman, who is legitimately a number 2 defenseman. Like I'm in shock that they stole this guy from St. Louis. Seider is in contention in my mind for Norris Trophy the way he's playing. He's not perfect, but he's when he's good in a game, he's very dominant. So then the third best guy right now is Simon Edmondson. He's in the AHL. So I don't know. Mata looks solid. Hall's been okay, but that's where you can slide in a guy that's a number 2 or 3 all of a sudden. Most teams have to trade for that.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely about that one there. I sent a couple of comments here for left and right. Thanks everybody. Don't forget to click on the like. We'll try to pick up a couple of likes here. Question for William McClary. 5-team, 31st Carolina, Oilers, New Jersey, Minnesota. on the goal against or the save percentage are really bad. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, you're not going to win unless you have a 950. You're not making the playoffs, in my opinion, unless your tandem has a 912 or a 915 save percentage. And I think a lot of teams are thinking back to last year that, oh, that last year was the year of offense and this freewheeling style. And you look at the teams that played like that, they're getting their butts kicked right now. Like coaches aren't stupid. They make adjustments. They watch a lot of video in the off season. And I think they're taking advantage of the fact that these teams are coming in thinking they can play this freestyling game and they're taking advantage of it with a counter strike. Like I think that there's a tactic out there that's winning. And I think the other thing that's interesting is the power plays. It looks like everybody's changed their power play breakup again. Like we see a lot of copycat power play breakup. So that I think
Yeah.
that's kind of an interesting thing. But I don't know, going back just to the goals against, like you're not going to make the playoffs if your goaltending tandem is below 910 or 9, might be 912, 915 save percentage. And there's some really low goals against average right now. Who's the number one goalie in the NHL? It's
I've heard
Jonathan
about that.
Quick. Like Jonathan Quick
That's
has
it.
a point. Jonathan Quick has a 0.48 or 0.41 goals against average, and you have 6 goalies that are under 2
Wow.
goals against a game.
The Canadiens just back 2-2, guys. It was 2-0 for Anaheim. Terry scored 2 goals the first half of the first period. The Canadiens just tied the game 2-2 about this one for NHL. I'm going to put some players over there. We have a couple more minutes to talk about what's going on around the NHL. A couple of people talk about NHL, but let's finish it with the Metropolitan Division. The Rangers, I believe this is a team I was not expect to play at that level. Came back for a trip of 5 games, won all those 5 games. Just again looked like just again, by the way. Carolina struggled since the beginning of the season. The Devils,
Yeah.
it's good, but it's not great.
They're good.
The goal again is very bad, and the save percentage, the goaltender is not great. The defensive zone is
True.
not amazing over there. Then after that, you have a team nobody talk about is the New York Islanders. They're hanging in the middle of this pack, and they don't score a lot of goals, but they don't give a lot of goals. It's another team doing well. And then you have the bottom. You have the Columbus, the Washington, the Flyers. I know they game better, but now they don't win. I think they have only one win in the last 5 games. And then the Pittsburgh Penguins, all of them. So this division right now, it says going to be a 3-team. The Rangers, the Devils, and the Carolina Hurricane, I believe. And the rest, the 5 other teams, they're going to fight for the spot in the playoff. It look like the Islanders are in front of anybody else. I don't know if you think any change about that or what you feel about that conversation we can talk about.
I'm so curious
Yeah,
about.
you definitely have to
Yeah,
have the Islanders.
Islanders are going to get in. I think the team that I thought would actually, well, I was really kind of like cautious about the Erik Karlsson acquisition, and that power play has gone down the tubes. They have not figured out like that is a power play that worked extremely well with Gensel, Crosby, Letang, Malkin, and then Rust, right? Or whoever. It didn't even almost matter who the whoever was. And they're inserting Carlson and it's completely obliterated their power play. And I think that's a big difference. And I think Tristan Jarry is having a hard time because of the transition against it defensively. And I think that's a problem with Erik Karlsson.
Yeah, this was difficult I was expect more for them. They struggle on the defensive zone for sure. The chemistry is not there yet. But think about this. I see a stat today, I believe. 60% of the time, it's when they score, Crosby, Malkin is on the ice. For the rest of the
Right.
team, it's only 40%, and only 4 goals come for the bottom 6 right now this year.
Yeah,
Man,
absolutely.
that's so
That's your biggest problem. That and the fact that Letang now doesn't have. He's nowhere near at the pace he was last year. Carlson has picked it up a little bit lately, but he's still below
surprising.
expectations. I mean, that was a
Yeah.
bad contract. And they really
Yeah.
banked on Jari coming back and sort of going back to his old form, but he hasn't shown that yet, and I don't know if he will.
He started out really good, but I think when you watch,
Yeah, yeah,
like, the transition against him is killing him. I feel like there's just a lot of like um, broken plays, and he's getting beat up. And then you got Nedeljkovic, who's is he hurt or they send him down? So they're in trouble there on goaltending. Ricard Reichel has 0 goals and 1 assist. Like I think he had 24 or 25 goals last year. Um, when you talk about secondary scoring, it's a great point. Like I think they brought, we got a healthy Brian Rust who started out hot. Gensel looks like he's healthy. Riley Smith was a phenomenal addition. And then what do you got? Like after that, after the top six, there's
nothing,
nothing. And Reichel should
nothing.
be in that conversation, right? Like they've got Radim Zahorov, who's done okay, but he's only played 5 games. Lars Eller's not going to put up big points for you. Who else do they got? Like it's empty. Jeff Carter has got 0
Yeah,
points. Noel Acciari has 0 points. Matthew Nieto has 0 points.
I said the bottom six
yeah.
doesn't produce.
It's so bad. The bottom six are like killing them. Like
Yeah, I'm sorry about that one there for sure. Um, now let's talk about a couple of players that they have a great year so far. We talked already Jack Hughes, Peterson, DeBrincat, and one player is William Nylander with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Quinn Hughes have a great start as a defenseman. Adam Fox doing well, defenseman too. And the Boston tandem, Goldender, are solid. And then you
oh,
have
so
Jake Ottinger have a good start for the Dallas Star uh,
good.
on that one for sure. And if you follow baseball, the Rangers are 3 out of the World Series. They still
Oh
lead
wow.
1-0 at the beginning of the 9 innings. That's what we got so far and the baseball.
Have
So
you, have you guys heard of this other guy? His name is Frank Vetrano.
Yeah.
This guy's got 9 goals. Everybody, like
yeah,
I know.
2 Hatties, right? Like in a fair. Now he's got 1 assist, so he's got the Cy Young award. But I mean, still, like his play has been kind of crazy lately. That's like insane.
and on the flip
Usually,
side, guys, I want to share it with you. Blake Wheeler, 0 point. Link
yeah.
Home with the
Yeah,
Boston Bruins, 0 point. Connor
Oh, that's
Brown,
yeah.
weird.
Edmonton Oilers, 0 point. And
He's been terrible.
Sandin with the Washington Capital, 0 point. Gustafson, after an amazing great year with Minnesota, is a 4.33, I
Campbell.
believe, goal against. And Campbell, still considered to be Campbell, is regular, is 4.17 for the Oilers.
That killed
You
the
have
team.
other players I can mention, but this is a player was expect better year. And cannot find who they are.
I mean, the Connor Brown one surprises me a little bit, but when you watch, like he just looks like a fish out of water. You realize how skilled and how fast Edmonton plays. Evander Kane had a terrible start, and I think the game the other night hopefully turns his season around. But he was looking like um, I was going to say something. That's probably the way. But the doghouse Kane, not the Kane that's been the hero the last 2 years. So I think that
Right.
you know, hopefully that last game turns it around for him. Trevor Zegras has 0 points. I think he's got 1 assist. So that's surprising. Mason McTavish has been absolutely phenomenal. Like Mason McTavish is Mr. Everything in Anaheim at the moment. Troy
Yeah, he's on the
Terry
top
and
of the point with them with four
Scoring.
goals, I believe.
he's so good.
Yeah.
Zegras struggles. Zegras only 2 points, but he have a late training camp. Maybe there's a pretty problem over there for them.
Yeah, Patty Verbeek, playing games with the guys, and the 2 guys he played games with, Drysdale and Zegras. Drysdale's hurt again, and Zegras has got 2 points. So maybe you
Yeah.
should have signed him before. But they're winning. but and John Gibson is 1-3. John Gibson is not looking great. Like
Yeah,
everyone's talking about, so
Dostals.
like it's pretty tough, when you're going in though, and you're like, I mean, I don't think there's much expected of them, but at the same time, like you look at them, they look like they could do some damage. There's opportunity, as Coach said, in that side. The Wheeler thing, I guess. So the Lindholm, is this Elias Lindholm, or are you talking about
Yeah,
Hampus Lindholm,
Elias, no, a defenseman for Boston.
the defenseman Hampus?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's surprising
yeah,
because he had a really good offensive year last year.
Yeah, yeah. This is those players, we expect them to have a good year with a new team, and me. And this is behind the scene, guys. The team struggle the most, or the players struggle, and the team does know very well about that. So
How many goals does Matty Beniers have?
0 for Seattle Kraken. Yeah. Is the
So
team
that
score a lot of goals last year, 5 versus 5? You remember they was number one in NHL last year. McCann with 40 goals, and Vince Dunn have an amazing great year. The goaltender was pretty good. Grubauer, I think Grubauer have only one game, a W or 2 W, I believe. And
1
then,
and
ladies
4.
and gentlemen, tonight the first goal of Logan Cooley in NHL.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
He's going to be such a
nice.
good player.
Yeah.
Tolvanen only has 1 goal in the year. Kyler Yamamoto was a weird insertion and not a good replacement for Daniel Sprong. What was it? Burakovsky's hurt, right? So that's the player that's out, and Wenberg has 0 goals. So I mean, they're just not, and Tanev's gone.
Yep.
So I don't know, they're struggling.
By the way, Michael, and in our tap, Mentukov.
So good.
6. He
Mintikov?
got another point tonight. 6 assists this
He's
year.
so good. Listen, I'm an Olin Zellweger booster. Olin had a very good training camp. Mintikov is, to me, like bigger, stronger, and has way more offense than I understood. Like right now, he's like, wow. Like, and you've got these other 2 guys, Leno and Zellweger, in the wings, and you're not even playing with Jamie Drysdale. The other guy that's really interesting there is Jackson Lacombe. And Jackson Lacombe is not putting up big points, but he looks very good. So they've got probably 5 or 6 really good young defensemen. Like they could afford to move a Drysdale at some point if he's not working out.
They remind me a lot Carolina Hurricane a couple of years ago at the beginning with the defenseman, young prospect they have, and now they are a little bit better with that team. I think they have a full of them. We don't talk about, other they have already in the lineup, and they use them. They use many of them every game, and they let them play, and they want to develop them properly right away. And I think is underrated. The coach Gronen, is it Gronen? His last name?
Yeah, Greg Cronin. He's
I
a good
think he's
coach.
underrated. The people, the club play for him in our top last year, the Colorado Eagles. They love him. They really love the coach, and now he with Anaheim Ducks.
Right.
And we'll see. But so far, we have to give credit for the Anaheim Ducks. They're start there, what, 4-4, something like that. They have.
They're 6-5 or 6, something like that. Like they have.
Yeah.
No, I think they're
one game
5.
above 500. So maybe they're 5-4.
They're 5-4. 5-4. Yeah,
That's it.
they're 5-4.
Yeah, they're. I've never ever liked that team, but they're like fun to watch. If Trevor Zegras and Terry can contribute a little bit, they might be really interesting.
Would be fun to do that.
They got some really interesting.
We're about 10,
pieces
15 minutes,
coming up in
Michael.
this-
We
in
would
the
like to
system.
talk about the first mock draft of 2024. You start to get out for left and right, everything like that. So what I take 11 of them, and maybe some of you can talk about this in our tap and everybody else. If I can find this, it would be great. This is something I did not prepare very well. Not this one over there, but you're looking good with me. Here we go. It's right here. So I put all the list together, guys. I put Celebrine, number 1, Sedyev, number 2, Eiserman, Lev Shunov, Timidov, Yakenchuk, Katten, or And then Jiricek, Dickinson, Lindstrom, Elenius. And then you have on the top 20, we have 11 defensemen, Michael, this year for what we heard left and right. So I took a little bit, a resume of everything to bet together here.
So that's interesting who you have number 2.
Defenseman 6'7".
Yeah, the big left shot defenseman,
Yeah.
right? So
What
I
we
have not
heard
seen
from,
him.
they consider him like the next Shara.
Oh, Chara, yeah.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Texas
That's
take the lead
interesting.
5-0 if you follow baseball, by the way, for that
I
one.
think I have a really hard time not taking Yzerman top 2. If you've watched Yzerman, this is a guy that might be a 50, 60 goal scorer in the NHL. Like, he's just going to score buckets and buckets of goals. Like, that's what his capability is. He's not a huge player physically, but man, he is a pure goal scorer. Like, this is a guy that's going to get 90 goals this year. Like, it's stupid. Celebrini is the most complete player of all of them. He's a very, very high hockey IQ. There's nobody in this draft with his overall package. He's going to be above average at everything. I'm trying to think of a good comparison from I don't know. He's got a good shot. He's got a great playmaking sense. He's an above average skater. He's good 200 feet. Like, that's just a complete player. He's not going to be like a generational talent, but he'll be a number 1 center, I think.
Yeah.
So Silov is interesting. I would be really cautious about putting him ahead of Yzerman personally. And the guy that you have at number 4 is a real smooth skating, proven defenseman and right shot. Demidov is obviously really slick. Like, he's able to beat defensemen off the wall. And I don't know, Jiricek is really interesting. We see Catton a lot, and he's going to be a real good player. But I just look at Catton, I wonder, like, Trevor Conley is a pain in the ass. Like, he's got a reputation of being a terrible human being. He was sent home multiple times from multiple teams, like, in the last 4 years. He is, though. They keep bringing him back for one reason, Pierre. He has, like, an elite shot. He's an elite skater. He's a really, really top end player. I would not be shocked to see Trevor Conley if he can avoid being a horrible person, which has been tough so far. I would not be shocked to see him go ahead of Dickinson or Lindstrom or Helenas. Like, all things being equal, he would be as good or better than Catton.
Really?
So that's one kind of like a weird dark horse. I'm not pulling for him because he's just done some really terrible things on different teams that I can tell you off the air, but including getting sent home from boarding school, including getting sent home from Team USA twice.
And after any comments about the Twin players there?
No, I like the fact that there's a good variety there of forwards and defensemen, and I think that some teams are going to be reaching to try to get a solid defenseman, which bodes, from Montreal's perspective, it bodes well if they're looking for a forward to fall at, let's say, the 7, 8, 9th position. You might get a Catton or a Lindstrom. It'll bode well for Montreal.
Yeah, Lindstrom's a really interesting player.
Yeah.
He's like tall and skinny, but he's a really interesting skater, and he's put up some pretty big points right now.
I really like Elenius, by the way.
That's the little Finnish kid, is he?
Yeah, center for Finland. He will be at the World Junior Championship next down about the next one there. So just give you guys a little bit a preview of the NHL Draft 2024. We'll talk more about those players the next couple of weeks for sure. But with what we did tonight, guys, was the review of the month of October, the first month of the October. Finishing that show, guys, I would like to ask you maybe, are you crystal ball for November? Maybe one team you think they're going to step up more. They have a good month. A team maybe they have a good start, but they're going to drop. So I know it's a question really not at the last minute, but anything we can talk about this. Anything you think about that? And one player we did not talk about this is Gorgiev for the Colorado Avalanche. I watch Colorado and I'm thinking about Gorgiev have a good start of the season, by the way, with the team. But anyhow, which team you think can have a good month, and then step up more, and then a team they are there but they're not going to do well?
I'd like to think that Edmonton will continue to do well, and that they're going to start climbing up the standings. I mean, they're just too talented not to be up at the top of the league. So I anticipate that they'll be there. In terms of teams that maybe might drop off, that's a tough one. Man, uh, possibly Vancouver. If they don't, if Demko doesn't stay healthy, that's going to be a big problem for them. But uh, I don't anticipate them being in the top three. Like if they are a playoff team, they'll be a wild card team. I don't anticipate them being in the top three of the Pacific Division.
Good point, Michael.
So tough. Yeah, it's an interesting question. I mean, I think the Devils are going to have a real good November. I mean, they've got a couple games in hand. They've got to figure out the goaltending thing, but they're just getting such elite performances from Jack Hughes, and Nico Heishire looks really good and he's healthy. I got to think that they're going to challenge the Hurricanes and the Rangers. They have 11 points in 8 games, and I don't even think they played their best hockey yet. Uh, Buffalo, I think, is going to do better.
There we go. It
And
was my team. It was Buffalo.
yeah,
I think for me, Buffalo, they are right now 5-5, but this is a team I think they can step up more for
yeah,
sure. They score 5 goals tonight, but Dallin have 0 point. But this is the one that pushing the goaltender will be the big problem for them. But I think Buffalo was the team I was to mention to you. I look around everything else. Um, Buffalo for me is really the team I'm thinking really well about that. On the top 10 guys, we have Montreal Canadiens and the Detroit Red Wings. The Montreal Canadiens have a schedule not bad, so they can hang in there with 500, I think, at the end of the month. So, but I don't know about Detroit, Michael. What does the schedule look like for the next month over there? This is two teams. I think they are not supposed to be at the top 15, and Anaheim Ducks are at the top 15, by the way.
yeah.
Um, so, um,
I feel like Anaheim's won 4 games in a row. They've done it without any production from Trevor Zegras and just okay production from Troy Terry. So I think it'll be, and there's no Jamie Drysdale. So it's kind of interesting, and Gibson's not playing great. So I just don't know how that holds up. Like, are you going to be able to ride, a top three position with Dostal and without Drysdale long term? I don't know. I don't feel like it's going to work. I think they're going to drop off a little bit.
yeah. Um,
I
I
like
look
them.
about that. I don't see anything else. Well, right now they're going to on the top team. If you think about the top team, Tampa, Devils, Star, Carolina, Kings, Colorado.
Kings look pretty good. Like, I think Winnipeg's weird because they were doing pretty well. They don't have a great scenario, like without Gabe Velarde. That takes a lot of goals out of the lineup, so that's a little bit concerning maybe for them. Um, the other one I was going to mention. So Detroit has
But they got the goaltending.
in Winnipeg. Yeah, Winnipeg does.
Yeah,
So Detroit,
and
Florida.
that's the big thing. I think. Yeah,
Sorry,
go ahead, Mike.
internet. I see the ghosting is happening with the internet.
Texas won
Detroit,
Go
the
ahead.
World
Go ahead.
Championship. the Texas
Oh, they did.
Rangers.
World Series? Okay. So with Detroit, it's interesting because they play Florida, but Florida's banged up a little bit. I don't think they've traditionally had great luck against Florida, have they? I think they've kind of struggled against them. They play Boston, who has not lost a game yet, really. And then they play the Rangers, who are looking really solid. And then they play Montreal. And then in Columbus, Ottawa. So I don't know. There's a lot of winnable games there. Toronto, Ottawa. I think they might be okay.
Would be very interesting what happened about that. And I'll tap anything you want to add for that one.
Yeah, we didn't talk about Ottawa. I still think they can make a move up. I think depending on, I mean, they have the talent. That's the crazy thing. So
They do.
there's that opportunity that if they get the right coach and in place, that can sort of change the direction of this team. And I think they can. Right now, they're at 500 at 4-4, but I think they could be a dangerous team and a team that rises in the Atlantic.
Yeah. It was great to see you, Michael, with us tonight on the evening. Maybe do it again every month, maybe at the end of each month to do another review with us. I think it'll be fun to catch up with you. That'd be awesome. Listen to that, and a great show tonight. We apologize, guys. Obviously, we got cut at the middle of the great streaming at the beginning, but it was a total failure of the internet in Thailand. That's Thailand, by the way. And it is what it is at the end of the night. But before we leave, we want to go to let you know that because you are awesome. You are amazing. You are the best. And remember, you have greatness inside of you. Yes, both of you have greatness inside of you, guys. 4 games in the NHL tonight. 2 of them, one of them is complete. The Buffalo Sabres beat tonight the Flyers by the score 5-2. We have 6 minutes to go remaining. The Dallas lead by 1 goal, 4-3. Avalanche, middle of the game, 2-0 over the Blues. Finally, Coyotes and the Ducks after 20 minutes. It's at the Honda Center. It's 2-2 with the first goal of the NHL of Logan Cooley. Safkowski feel the pressure about that one over there. Anyhow, guys,
he's just not going to be this good a player.
Thanks for us tonight, both of you. Thank you so much, all the moderators we got there earlier and after the show. And then we want to thank everybody. Click on the likes, and of course, we wish you an amazing, great night. And I can't wait to see you next time. Until then, be well, be healthy. Find a way not only dominate your day, but find a way to dominate the second half of what, Mr. Tap?
You're 20, 23.
He did it again. Michael, going to be live. You'll be live tomorrow morning?
Friday maybe, or tomorrow's Thursday, right?
Oh, yeah, Friday. How about that one over there? Sound good. Awesome, guys. Don't forget the Ad Nation, the Hockey Nation at One Show. I want to tell you one more thing. We love you, people. Have an amazing, great night, everybody. I will see you next time. See you, Michael, and the Son of Tap. Thanks so much, both of you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, guys.
Good night. Thank you, Luke. Oh. Booyah!